Today, let's talk about computers for streaming. Now, I'm going to be giving examples of what I use. Again, what you use is up to you, how you use it, what you connect to it. But for me, I feel that it's best if I just tell you kind of like what I'm using and not so much, exact details of what you need because no one really knows what you need but you. So we're going to start off with computers today. We're going to talk about computers today. And for streaming, pretty much what I have. Let me put this up here. So the first question is, are do you have Windows or Mac? Are you planning on purchasing? Because if you're going to purchase something or you're going to use what you have makes a difference. So the first question is Windows or Mac? If you have Windows, what I have is a i7. I have a 9th gen and a 10th gen. I would recommend the same or newer. Both of my Windows computers are 32 gigs of RAM. One of them has a graphics card. It's got an NVIDIA 1660 Ti, which is the laptop. The desktop doesn't, but I'm going to basically say you want one. And I'll explain that in a minute. My desktop, I have no graphics card in my desktop, but it is an i7 9700K with 8 cores. It's got 32 gigs of RAM, and it has a NVMe PCIe solid-state drive. That's important. That is a very fast SSID. A regular hard drive has rewrite speeds of about 100. I don't know the exact terminology, megabits, megabytes, or whatever it is, but let's say about 100. Everyone's going to understand 100. So figure 100. I think it's write, and under that for read. Solid state drives could do, I believe, up to about 550 in the read write. NVMe's go into the thousands. So when I did a benchmark test or a speed test, rewrite test on my desktop, it was like I think 3,000 on the read and 2,400 on the write. So there's a big difference between the hard drives, storage drives. The laptop. This is the exact model. I have a Legion 5. It's got an NVIDIA GTX 1660. It's got a 6-core. This is a laptop. 6-core i7 10th generation. And it has 30 gigs of RAM and also a PCIe solid-state drive. The laptop, to me, is more powerful than the desktop. Only because of the graphics card, not just because of the newer processor and everything, because the desktop to me is extremely powerful. Now, can the desktop work for streaming? I've used it for streaming. I've done a lot with that. The only time I had an issue, and if you saw the other video that I just posted in my thoughts and rants, I get into a little bit more details, I believe, with that one. But basically, the limitations of not having the graphics card. As soon as I used an Elgato Pro, I think it's called, it's an internal capture card, because you're going to be getting into capture cards. It just requires too much, I believe. So when I looked at the minimum specs, it said you need a graphics card. So that was my mistake. But using the Camlink 4K, using the ATEM Mini, all that stuff, no problems with the desktop. But the laptop is a beast, in my opinion. Now, for Windows PCs less powerful, you're probably going to want something like an ATEM Mini, which doubles as a switcher. A few things. It's a switcher. It's a capture card. It takes a lot of the resources and deals with it itself before it even goes to your computer. So if your Windows computer is not strong enough, and it works on Mac too, you might want to compensate with some hardware. If you're going to talk about Mac, again, are you buying? Do you already have? What I have is a M1 Mac Mini base model. And to me, I prefer that over the PC, over the desktop, and the laptop. M1 Macs are insane. I'm just going to say it. So, any M1 Mac other than the MacBook Air, because the Air doesn't have a fan, if you push it too hard and it starts overheating, it cools off by throttling back your processor and stuff. So, you could run into problems. So, I'm not going to recommend a Mac Air. Now, with Mac, if you're going to be using software and everything, I recommend ECAMM. ECAMM is amazing. This is from the ECAMM website. I didn't put the entire thing. I put what I thought was important. They recommend a Mac Mini, an iMac, or a MacBook Pro manufactured in 2015 or newer. Keep in mind, you still got other details, your RAM and all that other stuff. If you're going to do something very basic, pretty much just use the webcam, something like you would just do like in a Zoom meeting, nothing fancy, then you should be able to get away with, I would say 16 gigs of RAM. The more, the better. If you tend to want to do more, if you're going to start doing interview mode, you're going to try to put 4 or 5 cameras on this thing. The higher spec, the better. But I would rather buy an M1 Mac Mini if you don't need a laptop. And let's not talk about portability. The Mac Mini is small enough where you could throw it in the bag. I'm sorry. So if it's something where you're just going to move it to a site for a job, you can move a Mac Mini. Okay. But if you are on a daily basis going from site to site, moving around, I can understand you're not going to want to carry that around. So you get a MacBook Pro, you got the 14-inch ones now and stuff. As long as it's a M1, I'm going to go ahead and say it could be a base model M1. But as long as it's an M1 and it's not an Air, you should be fine. Just remember, the more specs, the better. And I think that's all I had. ECAMM Live. Did I put that twice? Or is it just repeating? Yeah, that's all I have for this video. Again, I'm just trying to give some general information. We're keeping it basic. Are you going Windows? Are you going PC? Are you going to be using software? Are you going to be doing a very basic, just headshot, one camera? Are you going to be doing multiple cameras? The more you are planning to do with this device, the more powerful device, or the more you're going to have to compensate for the lack of power with something like an A10 Mini. So again, plan it out. If you're going to buy equipment, plan it out even more. And for a lot of Windows users, don't be scared of Mac. I've been using Windows for years. I haven't used a Mac since like 2012 or something like that. Macs are not that much different as far as the interface. I mean, if all you do is mostly Google, add Chrome, and you're still just doing Google. You're adding software, work the software. Don't be intimidated by Mac. It's easy to learn how to get around on a Mac and deal with the software. So again, if you're thinking software, production, web-based, or actual software like ECAMM, what's the other one? OBS. I'm having a little brain free. vMix. Obviously, vMix is Windows, ECAMM is Mac. But again, try to think of what it is you want to do. Especially if you're going to buy equipment. Now, if you do end up going Mac, you got to think also the amount of equipment, the amount of ports. Are you going to need a docking station? Do not use a hub. That you got to add all those expenses. So we're going to get into more hardware in the next few videos. So I'm going to cut this one now. And again, we're just generalizing, trying to get some information out there to help you guys out.